Smooth might be the most argued overword in all of whiskey. Marketers slap it on every label and the snobs sneer at it, because too often smooth just means weak, watered down, and stripped of anything interesting. But done properly, smooth is not a cop-out. It is a $60 bottle at full strength, not filtered down or dressed up, that glides where a $300 trophy scratches. That is the version of smooth nobody sells you. These 15 are exactly that. Pour something good and let us get into it. Number 15. Glen Moray Classic. We are starting at the bottom of the price ladder and nowhere near the bottom of the glass. It comes out of Speyside for around $27, which is roughly what one cocktail costs in a decent bar. It is matured entirely in American oak and it pours light, soft, and sweet. Think butterscotch, gentle citrus, and warm shortbread, with none of the rough edges a bottle this cheap has every right to carry. The distillery has been quietly making this in Elgin since 1897, never chasing trophies, never hiking the price just to feel premium. Now set it beside a $40 Glenfiddich 12, same Speyside neighbourhood, same easy style, and it gives up almost nothing while leaving more money in your pocket. It will not rearrange your life. It is not trying to. What it does is prove the entire point of this list in one sip. Smooth is not expensive. Smooth is just made properly. And the bottle that pulls it off for the price of a round is the one the top shelf is praying you walk straight past. Number 14. Glengrothes Arboralis. Stay in Speyside, stay under $30 and meet the best-selling single malt in Italy. It carries no age statement, but the liquid is built around malt that is roughly a decade old, matured in a marriage of ex-bourbon barrels and Oloroso sherry casks. The distillery has done this since 1840, when the Grant brothers swapped a history of smuggling for a license and started building tall, slender stills designed to make one thing above all else: a clean and delicate spirit. That design still shows in every pour. It is light, fruity and creamy, all ripe pears, soft toffee and honey, with a finish that never bites or turns harsh. Put it next to a $60 no-age statement Speysider with a fancier label and a heavier marketing spend, and the gap on the palate is far smaller than the gap on the receipt. This is the dram you hand someone who swears they find Scotch too harsh to enjoy. 3 sips later, they go quiet and pour a second. The Italians worked this out decades ago and made it a national habit. The rest of us are slowly catching up to what they already knew. Number 13. Knockando 12. Here is a bottle most casual drinkers have already swallowed without ever knowing its name. It is one of the core malts holding up J&B Rare, the blend that built bars across 2 continents. Bought on its own, this Speysider runs about $46 and pours pale gold from entirely natural colour because the distillery refuses to add any. It is delicate and dry, with fresh almond, soft citrus, green apple and a nutty buttered toast. Warmth underneath that gives it more weight than the gentle nose suggests. It does something unusual too. Traditionally, each bottling is drawn from a single season of production rather than blended across many years, which gives it a consistency and an honesty you can actually taste in the glass. Now think about what you are really doing here. You can buy the famous blend that this malt props up, or you can buy the malt itself for less than the blend's premium tiers cost. One gives you a watered-down supporting role, the other gives you the lead actor. For a whiskey this gentle and this honestly presented, the choice writes itself. It is proof that some of the smoothest Scotch on earth has been hiding inside a blend the entire time. Number 12. Cardhu 12. If the last malt hides inside J&B, this one hides inside something far bigger. This Speyside single malt is the beating heart of Johnny Walker, the multi-core that gives those blends their famous softness. On its own, it costs around $45, and it is exactly what the name on the box promises. Silky smooth, golden honey, ripe orchard fruit, a touch of gentle spice, and a creamy weight that glides rather than burns. The distillery was founded in 1824 by John and Helen Cumming, and for 200 years it has specialised in one thing, an approachable dram that welcomes you in rather than fighting you off. Now hold that $45 price next to Johnnie Walker Blue Label, which trades on this very smoothness and asks around $200 and up for the privilege. Blue is a fine blend. It is also a marketing exercise built partly on the back of the malt you can buy by itself for a fraction of the price. You are not getting a lesser experience by going straight to the source. You are simply skipping the markup, the box, and the gold foil. It is the smoothness without the prestige tax bolted on top. Number 11, Tomintoul 10. Some distilleries argue about who makes the smoothest Scotch. This one just printed the answer on the bottle. They call it the Gentle Dram, and at around $45, the standard 10-year-old earns every letter of the name. Sitting high in the hills on the Glenlivet estate, the distillery matures this expression exclusively in American Oak ex-bourbon barrels, and then bottles a whiskey that is all acacia honey, vanilla, cream caramel, and a soft, grassy freshness. There is no smoke, no sharp edges, nothing asking you to work for your reward. This is unpeated Speyside in its most relaxed form, the kind of pour you reach for when you want comfort rather than a lecture about complexity. Compare it to a $70 trophy Speysider that leans on its age statement and its weighty bottle to justify the climb in price. On smoothness alone, the Gentle Dram keeps pace and undercuts it by half. It has never been a name people brag about owning at a dinner party. That is precisely why it stays affordable while delivering the very thing the expensive bottles spend fortunes trying to capture. Easy does not have to be expensive, and this is the proof. Number 10. Aberfeldy 12. They call it the Golden Dram, and for once the nickname is earned twice over. It draws its water from the Pitilly Burn, a stream famous for traces of actual gold in its bed, and the whiskey it makes is liquid honey at around $44 a bottle. Matured in a mix of bourbon and sherry casks since the distillery opened in 1898, the 12-year-old is rich, syrupy, and deeply smooth, layered with heather honey, creamy vanilla, baked orchard fruit, and the faintest whisper of spice. It is the malt at the heart of the Dewar's blends, which means generations have already loved it without ever learning its name. Now place it beside Macallan 12, a sherried Speysider that asks $80 or more and wears its reputation like jewellery. It will not match Macallan's depth, note for note. Nobody is claiming that. But on pure honeyed smoothness, the gap on the tongue is nowhere near the gap on the price tag. This is the bottle that quietly wins blind tastings against names twice its cost, then watches the room try to guess what it was. The Golden Dram has been hiding in plain sight for over a century, doing the work and charging a fraction. Number 9. Glenkinchie 12. Most smooth Scotch comes from Speyside. This one comes from the doorstep of Edinburgh. It is a lowland malt, and the lowland style was built for exactly the quality this whole list is chasing: lightness and ease. At around $60, it is the priciest pour we have reached so far, and it earns it with delicate floral aromas, fresh-cut grass, crisp apple, and a clean, soft palate that makes it one of the great aperitif drams in all of Scotch. The distillery runs some of the largest stills in all of Scotland, and those huge copper pots strip the spirit down to something bright and gentle long before it ever touches a cask. It is one of the original 6 classic malts, hand-picked by Diageo to represent the entire lowland region, which tells you how trusted this style is by the people who know it best. Set it against a $90 boutique lowlander trying to sell you the same delicate experience with a louder story, and it holds the line for less while carrying decades more pedigree. When you want something elegant before dinner rather than a fireside heavyweight, this is the smoothest gateway in the lowlands. Number 8. Auchentoshan American Oak. Here is the one whiskey on this list that is smooth by mathematics. Auchentoshan is a lowland distillery on the edge of Glasgow, and it does something almost no other Scotch maker bothers with. It triple distills. Where most single malts run the spirit through the stills twice, this one runs it 3 times, and each pass strips away more of the heavy, harsh compounds and leaves a lighter, cleaner, sweeter spirit behind. The American oak expression then matures entirely in bourbon casks and lands around $40. The result is vanilla, coconut, soft peach, and a crisp grapefruit finish, with a texture so polished it almost feels rounded in the mouth. Plenty of expensive bottles slap the word smooth on the label and charge you $80 for the marketing behind it. This distillery does not market smoothness. It engineers it at the still on purpose and then sells it for half that price. If you have ever wondered why some Scotch glides and some Scotch fights you all the way down, this is the bottle that shows you the actual mechanism. Smoothness you can taste, built by a 3rd trip through the copper. Number 7. Cragganmore 12. We met the lowland member of the classic malts earlier. This is the Speyside, and it is the quiet connoisseur's favourite of the whole set. At around $55, this is a more grown-up kind of smooth complex without ever turning heavy or aggressive. The distillery runs unusually flat-topped stills, a genuine oddity in Speyside where almost everyone else uses elegant swan necks, and that short, blunt shape combined with wormtub condensers builds a layered, malty, lightly fruity character that whiskey writers have praised for decades as one of the most sophisticated profiles in the region. You get dried fruit, a little honey, gentle smoke far in the distance, and a long, clean finish. It drinks far more expensive than it actually is. Now look at what its own classic malt siblings command on the shelf. The Islay and Highland members of that same prestigious lineup can run double or triple the price, riding the exact same brand halo. It sits in the identical family, wins the same critical respect, and asks for a fraction of the money. This is the bottle you pour for the friend who thinks they have outgrown affordable Scotch. 1 glass later, they are quietly writing down the name. Quick pause before the back half, and this is the good half. Settle something for me while you are here. Whiskey snobs treat smooth like a dirty word, but the rest of us just want a glass that goes down easy. So what is the smoothest dram you have ever poured, and was it cheap? Drop it in the comments. I go through the comments and the best suggestions end up shaping the next video. While you are down there, hit subscribe so the next list finds you. Now back to the countdown. Number 6, the Glenrothes 12. Now we reach the sherried smooth ones, and this one opens the run. This Speyside, part of the distillery's Solio collection, is matured entirely in sherry seasoned casks and carries completely natural colour, which for a sherried whiskey is a genuine mark of honesty rather than a marketing claim. At around $55, it pours soft and creamy, with vanilla, ripe melon, honey, gentle nut brittle, and a rounded sweetness that never once tips over into heavy. It is the kind of dram that feels expensive in the glass and reasonable on the receipt. Here is where it gets interesting. The all-sherry, natural colour, soft Speyside profile is the exact territory that Macallan 12 Sherry Oak occupies, and Macallan asks $80 or more while leaning hard on its name and its red branding. Pour the two side by side and it does not embarrass itself at all. It does the opposite. It makes you quietly ask why you were ever paying the premium. Sherried smoothness has become one of the most overpriced corners of the entire whiskey world. It is the bottle that simply refuses to play along with it. Number 5. Strathisla 12. It is the oldest continuously operating distillery in all of Speyside, running since 1786, and that history is not just decoration on the box. This is the malt at the very heart of Chivas Regal, the spine that those famous blends are built around. On its own, it costs around $55 to $65, and it is gorgeously smooth, all fruitcake, baked orchard fruit, warm spice, and a soft malty richness drawn from its sherry maturation. The picture postcard distillery, with its twin pagodas and old water wheel, is so photogenic that the whiskey inside almost becomes an afterthought, which is a genuine shame, because the liquid is the real treasure here. Think about what this means against the blends it quietly feeds. Chivas Regal 18 and the entire Royal Salute range trade on smoothness and prestige and charge accordingly, with Royal Salute climbing well into the hundreds. It is the engine sitting inside all of that prestige. Buy the source malt and you skip every dollar of blending markup and gift box theatre. You are drinking the heart of a luxury blend for the price of an ordinary single malt. Few bottles on this list deliver more elegance per dollar than the one quietly powering Chivas Regal. Number 4. Dalwhinnie 15. High in the Highlands, at one of the highest distilleries in all of Scotland, and the single coldest spot in the entire country, they make a whisky so gentle it has become the benchmark for the word. It costs around $65 and is the softest, most honeyed pour in the whole classic malts collection. The cold mountain air and the old wooden worm tubs slow everything down, giving the spirit a delicate heather honey sweetness, layered with vanilla, a touch of malt, and the faintest coastal whisper on the finish. There is no aggression here whatsoever. It is the liquid equivalent of a warm blanket on a cold night. Diageo chose it to represent the Highlands among the original 6 classic malts, which is the industry quietly admitting this is the reference point for smooth Highland Scotch. Set it against a $90 Highland trophy, selling you the same honeyed gentleness with a heavier bottle and a far louder story. It matches the experience and pockets the difference for you. When people describe their ideal smooth whiskey without naming an actual bottle, they are usually describing this one: 15 full years of patience, sold for less than many bottles half its age. Number 3. Glengoyne 12. It makes a single stubborn claim and the entire bottle rests on it. They run the slowest distillation in all of Scotland. The spirit creeps through the stills at a fraction of the industry pace, and that unhurried, patient run is the real secret behind its remarkably clean, smooth character. At around $55, the 12-year-old is also completely unpeated, made from air-dried barley so that not a single wisp of smoke gets in the way of the fruit. What you get instead is rich honey, vanilla, ripe orchard fruit, and a long, balanced finish, much of it pulled from hand-selected sherry casks. The distillery has held this slow philosophy since 1883 and has never once wavered from it. Now compare it to the heavily sherried Highland names that ask $80, $90, even $100 and build entire advertising campaigns around how smooth and luxurious they supposedly are. It arrives at the same destination through sheer craft rather than marketing budget and charges you half. This is smoothness earned at the still, one slow drop at a time. The expensive bottles want you to believe their refinement is rare and precious. This one quietly proves it is mostly just patience. Number 2. Royal Brackla 12. Some bottles buy their prestige. This one was handed it by a king. Set on the historic Cardhu estate in the Highlands, it became the first Scotch distillery ever to receive a royal warrant, granted by King William IV in 1833. They call it the King's Own Whisky, and only 2 other distilleries in all of Scotland have ever shared that royal honour, so you would expect a small fortune. Instead, the 12-year-old runs around $60 to $70, and it is presented exactly the way serious enthusiasts beg for, bottled at 46%, non-chill filtered with completely natural colour, and finished in Oloroso sherry casks. The result is smooth and elegant, full of stewed peaches, dark chocolate, toasted almond, and warm muscovado sweetness. Sit with the contradiction here for a second. Countless bottles charge $100 and well beyond purely for the image of luxury, the heavy glass, the gold foil, the carefully written story. It holds the single most exclusive pedigree in all of Scotch, actual royal approval, and still costs less than a mid-shelf prestige blend. Smoothness, history, and an honest presentation in one bottle. The Crown could not make it look cheaper if it tried. Number 1. Aultmore 12, and the smoothest value in all of Scotch is a bottle almost nobody talks about, which is exactly the point of it. It is a distillery that spent over a century as a blender's best-kept secret, prized as a top-class malt and rarely ever seen standing on its own. The 12-year-old now sells for around $60, and it is everything the expensive bottles strip away to protect their margins. Here is the contrast that closes this entire list. The trophies on the top shelf chase a higher profit by bottling at the legal minimum strength, by chill filtering the flavour away for a clearer, prettier look, and by adding caramel colouring to fake a few extra years of age. It does the exact opposite on every single count. 46% strength, non-chill filtered, natural colour, nothing taken out and nothing faked. What is left is a silky, creamy Speyside full of crisp green apple, ripe pear, vanilla custard, and soft herbal freshness. Smooth, not because the flavour was sanded off, but because the spirit was simply that clean to begin with. This is what smooth Scotch is supposed to be before the accountants get involved. $60, fully dressed, hiding nothing from you. Next to the $300 bottles that strip themselves bare just to cut costs, it does not merely compete with them, it makes them look ridiculous. If this changed how you think about what smooth actually costs, the subscribe button is right there, and there is plenty more like it on the way. Pour something good tonight. See you in the next one.